Chuck, a new law in Illinois aims to protect victims of domestic violence.
Yes, it's called Karina's Law, and the governor just signed it today. Sam Matheny joins us now to explain what this is and how the bill will be enforced. Sam?
Karina's Law was introduced to the General Assembly in September of 2023. The law is named in honor of Karina Gonzalez, who was granted an order of protection against her husband just weeks before she and her daughter were both shot and killed.
Karina's Law will protect survivors of domestic violence and give them comfort, the comfort of knowing that their abuser will not have easy access to firearms.
Governor Pritzker signed new legislation Monday that enhances protections for survivors of domestic violence. It allows local law enforcement agencies to confiscate firearms from anyone whose FOID card has been removed due to having a restraining order. To get perspective on just how often domestic violence happens, I sat down with Bloomington police officer Bryce Jansen.
Whether that's a domestic battery or an aggravated domestic battery or a dispute that rises to the level where a report is generated, we're over 1,300 reports just for domestic incidents alone.
Officer Jansen says the department responds to more domestic calls than any other type. Of those 1,300 domestic-related police reports Bloomington PD filed in 2024, 882 of them were for instances of domestic battery. In Normal, police officer Brad Parks says there were 548 domestic battery reports last year. He says domestic incidents are also the highest type of call, saying it spikes in the middle of the winter and the middle of the summer. One case of domestic violence last year happened against Unit 5 teacher Amy Moore, who was shot and killed by her husband inside her home. As for who will carry out warrants and remove weapons from accused abusers, Officer Jansen says that's unclear.
We'll have to get together with, city legal, other local law enforcement, state's attorney's office, and try to decide, where to go from here and how we will execute this law.
In January, we spoke with Peoria attorney Sean Cusack. He said lawmakers wrote the bill so that it does not violate the Second Amendment, but still prevents people from being injured. One problem Cusack saw with Karina's law is that once someone loses their FOID card, there's a long process to get it back.